Our beetroot grow along is going to be starting in mid-March. We're using 2 varieties, again from Tamar Organics for these. A variety called Winter Somme and then another variety called Janice. If you are up north, then you may want to wait a couple more weeks before you start the Janice. They are usually a little bit happier to be started that little bit later. If you haven't bought your seeds yet and you're looking to buy these varieties, if you comment newsletter, I'll send you the link to the discount code for Tamar Organics. We will be sowing these into cells. Each of these seeds actually is a multi-germ seed, meaning that they're a cluster of seeds rather than individual. You can get beetroot varieties that are individual, but the majority of the ones that we see are a cluster of seeds. And then while they're still quite young, we'll be popping that cluster of seeds outside directly into the beds. We're looking for a germination temperature of between 10 and 25 Celsius. So for most of us, that'll be absolutely fine to germinate these outside under cover. And that can be a flimsy greenhouse. It doesn't have to be anything special or particular. They're going to prefer a sunny location and also one that isn't particularly overcrowded by other plants. One of the things I've really found that they struggle with is if you do have something particularly tall next to them, or if you've got particularly poor soil. We've actually had lalandi trees that were all around our garden, and I struggled with these for years. Now the soil is starting to improve. They are improving with that. So if you've had troubles with them before, then you may find that now, if you've continued to add organic matter to the soil, that actually they will do better. The sowing depth is around 1 centimetre, and then the planting out is going to be between 30 and 35 centimetres, depending on how many are in the cluster of seeds. We're going to be sowing these into a cell tray rather than a tray and pricking them out. A small one like this Charles Dowding 15 will be absolutely fine too. Just sieved multi-purpose compost will be absolutely fine. You don't need to go out and buy anything fancy. If you prefer to sow direct, then that is something that beetroot usually will do quite well. Particularly if you've got the more longer versions, then they may be better to actually sow directly than into the cell trays. And if you are up north but you do want to get a head start on these, then you can always cover them in fleece to keep them that little bit warmer. Sometimes if they get a bit too cold, that can cause them to bolt a little bit too early. Being cluster seeds, of course, they are going to be more suitable for planting out as a multi-clump. And therefore, one of the things that we can do is just twist out the larger ones and then leave the smaller ones to continue growing. So you don't need to harvest the entire clump at one go. We will be succession sowing these right up till July. The later sowings are going to be better to be stored over winter. If you've got somewhere suitable to do that, you can do that in just some old compost, some sand, or in a shed that isn't going to have too much frost damage, or even in the ground, as long as you don't have too much issues from rodents. The earlier varieties are going to be really good for eating small and also for pickling or canning and making other things for them to be stored over winter. If you do want some information about that, then let me know in the comments and we can do some videos about making some pickled beetroot as well. When it comes to pests, slugs are going to be the obvious thing that are going to be an issue with these. They are going to like those more tender seedlings. And even though we're going to start them in the cell tray, I do find that planting them out sooner rather than letting them get too big will be more beneficial. So if you've got an area where there is lots of slugs, then try to avoid planting near there first of all, or tidy up any rotting edges and go out and take them away at night and move them into a different area. Birds and rabbits can also be a bit of an issue with these, whether it be pulling them out or nibbling on them or eating them. So for that, you're just going to want to look at netting them, and that can be an open net rather than a very fine one. And then you may have noticed trails that run through leaves of certain plants, and beetroot is one of the ones that we will find this. It only usually affects the leaves. The leaves are edible and can be eaten in salads, particularly the young ones. So if you are eating them, then just check before you eat them. But for the actual beets themselves, they're not usually an issue. Then, of course, we have the rats and mice that we spoke about, and we just want to harvest them before they cause too much issue. So I hope that you'll be joining in with this grow along. Don't forget, we have a community page over on Facebook. We have the newsletter with the discount code, but lots of other information. And then we also have all the previous grow alongs from previous years, all the other ones that are happening this year, and lots of other things to catch up on for perennial grow alongs as well.